So what do you see in the future for Bitcoin and nuclear energy? What's the connection, and what's the big thing happening in the future?
I see them making perfect, like, synergistic relationship with each other. Because like we could mention, one of the biggest liabilities that nuclear power plants have is that when they're operational, they like to operate at full capacity to maximize efficiency and economics. So when there isn't sufficient demand from the local grid to take all that, you end up with having to curtail it or negatively price it, which is a liability on owners of these assets. So to have a technology like Bitcoin mining that can just act as that placeholder, whether it can serve many different roles. It could just be a large static load. It could be a large flexible load. It could just be a small load that just sits at that margin between the supply and demand, because no matter how much we want to engineer society, human demand for electricity is going to fluctuate, whether it's in mornings, afternoons, at night, seasonally, whether it's summer or winter, and whether you live in different climates. You're never going to have perfect alignment. If you're just generating a stable base load of electricity, it's never going to align perfectly with a stable base load of demand. But now we have available a technology that can just fill in that space perfectly, scaled to meet where any generation profile, anywhere that it is, whether it's on grid, whether it's off grid. It's like one of the game plans that we have for in Canada is we want to build and design and mass produce a 5 megawatt reactor design, a really tiny unit that can transport it on it in a single shipping container. And they want to send those to all kinds of northern communities throughout Canada and upgrade all of them off diesel and get them onto nuclear and using that more efficiently. And it'll, in these communities where unsubsidized, their electricity costs are routinely easily like $1 a kilowatt hour, which is outrageously high. So we can, even by upgrading them to nuclear, bring that down to like 20, 30 cents. That's a huge change, and less money will be needed to subsidize just cost of living in these that can go towards more community development. And then on the other side, where Bitcoin mining comes in, is if we're deploying remotely, like you might have a community that only needs 7 megawatts now, the future is projected that they want to grow into like up to 20, 25 megawatts. You can build the capacity immediately while using the miners as a placeholder as the community grows into itself. Because of modularity of miners, they can either easily be redeployed somewhere else, because now we're seeing like robust marketplaces for ASICs, for hash rate. You can do all kinds of other like hedging strategies like that. Or because the reactors themselves are modular, can just add more generation capacity if the situation calls for it, and want to continue mining at the same capacity, where it gives more optionality to the way that these grids can be configured. Like right now, they're talking about like they want to use technology like hydrogen production, desalination as like these kind of anchor industrial technologies that will be able to support the development of a lot of these nuclear power plants. Like one of the large projects that's undergoing right currently in the licensing process is at Beldoon Port in New Brunswick. They have a large port that's got about a gigawatt of coal operating at right now, and it's a large industrial facility that does a lot of export operations. But they want to completely gut all of the coal out of that, or basically nuclear power as 100 megawatt modules of it's the ARC. It's called, ARC molten salt reactors. So that's one of the reactor types that can be fueled by recycled fuel from traditional boiled water reactor fleets. And then they want to turn that facility into a large clean energy innovation and infrastructure park that then they'll be able to export hydrogen and higher order chemicals that they're able to produce with this vast amount of power. They'll be able to do all kinds of desalination, mass producing the reactor at that site, so they'll be able to export it right from New Brunswick to and many other jurisdictions that are able to support this type of reactor, which hopefully once we've got these SMRs licensed and standardized, the licensing process in countries that don't have traditional nuclear industries will have more of a fast track to get their licensing and regulatory infrastructure set up and configured along the lines of the product that has been quality tested in numerous other jurisdictions that already have demonstrated robust regulatory and compliance licensing services. So it's got a lot of big moving parts because there's 70 different reactors that are vying for being first to the market. And some of them will definitely overlap on market share. Then others will be in unique markets, like these very tiny reactors, which have to build a lot of them to justify like units of scale. And so they do it as units of multiples. And as the scale drives down the marginal cost of production of each individual unit. So it requires advanced commitments from a lot of parties to be like, yes, we want this technology, commit to buying a lot of it. So we have a few chicken and egg conundrums about like they have to get licensed, and they also have commitments for purchasers and the confidence that the investors are going to be able to get a return on their investment by having sufficient demand for the power that's going to be generated from this reactor. So that is basically the next 5 to 7 years of the nuclear industry. It's getting all of this tied up so that then once we've got some of these reactors demonstrated first of a kind, which is going to be an expensive, cumbersome process of licensing and engineering, then we get past the gradually phase and finally reach the suddenly part where we can start deploying these reactors in a massive scale to different jurisdictions and communities that are going to be served by them.
So what are the risks involved with these mini reactors? Are they dangerous? Is there fun to be debunked there, or like what's the risk of a meltdown on one of these small reactors?
You can't say with any certainty that it's not zero, but it's pretty damn close to zero that it's dare possible, because they've been designed with like inherent safety configuration so that if the reactor core loses cooling because of the cooling techniques they use, they will be able to just passively reduce their temperature without having to and requiring external support from like water or electricity to keep them cool. They will be able to automatically fail into a safe state where even without operator intervention. So it takes a lot of the potential operator error out of the equation, because the reactors are designed to automatically like scram themselves into a state where they can put into like non-operation safely if there is an incident that would require them to do so.
Nice.